This is the new B74.2, and this is the list of changes from the old B74.1. In this video, I'm going to run through what all these changes mean and how they're going to affect your car on the track. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Okay, thing number one is the moulded gearboxes. Now, these do a few things. They lower the centre of gravity, remove weight from each end, and give the car a little bit more flex. So what this will do on the track is the fact that the weight's been removed from each end will mean that the car can rotate faster through the corners and just change direction quicker because the car's not trying to move that weight right at the end. Also, the lower centre of gravity, the car's just not going to roll around as much. It's going to stay flatter on the track, more consistent to drive. And the extra bit of flex just helps the car over the bumps and just generally being stable. So that's what the moulded gearboxes do. Change number two from the B74.1 is this car now has 13mm shocks and springs on. So we ran these as soon as they came out on the B6.4. We were running them on the four-wheel drive since we found quite a few improvements with them. So we found that over bumps they were just much nicer, just the car was not affected by the bumps half as much, landed the jumps better, and also just with four-wheel drive it just took away the edginess. The car just stayed so planted in the corners. Now obviously the springs are different as well, and the difference with the 13mm springs is obviously they're a bit bigger, but with the rear springs the wire diameter is also a little bit thicker, which has changed the frequency of the springs. So what we've found the springs to do when we've tested those individually is they just help the rear just follow the front nicely around the corners. And as you go over bumps, the car just moves together rather than kind of maybe being one end at a time. It just makes the whole car work together properly. So that's what we found with the 13mm shocks and springs on the four-wheel drive. Change number three for the new B74.2 is LTC gears in the diffs. So the way that the gear diffs work in these four-wheel drives is that the faster that they're spun or rotated, the more resistance that they build up. So the axle is going to be more locked the faster that the diff is spun. Now what the LTC gears do is they reduce this effect a little bit. So the diff can spin faster without locking up the axle as much. The wheels will still be freer to rotate. Now what this does is as you're going around the track, if you get a wheel coming off the floor or something due to bumps, the car's not going to try and pull in one direction or the other as much because that tyre that's on the ground isn't receiving as much drive as it was before. So it's not going to try and jolt the car into different directions. Now we've found this can just make it easier to drive, it's going to be smooth around the corners, and overall the car is just going to be nicer to drive. Change number four is the gull wing front suspension arms. Now these do a few things again. They lower the shocks down a little bit because the tower is now lowered as well to suit the gull wing arms. And also, they change the rate at which the suspension progresses through the travel of the car. Now the feel that this has on track is similar to the two-wheel drive. Put gull wings on, takes away a little bit of that initial snatch out of the car, but it's going to give you the steering back in the middle of the corner where you really want it. So I think the steering is just going to feel smoother on this car with the gull wings on. We've driven it, that's what we've thought. And it's just going to make your car faster through the corners as well with that extra steering in the middle. Another change for this car is the battery strap. Now we've moved over to the rubber band elastic type of battery strap, which is just much easier to use. You don't need any tools to get your battery in and out. You can either unhook the band from the hook at the rear and just take your battery out, or you can actually just lift it up and slide it out of the side. Now I also think that this has a positive effect on the flex as well. Since we've just got a rubber band on this side of the car now, I think the flex across the rear of the chassis is going to be more consistent from side to side, which should also help the consistency of the car on the track when it's under high load. Okay, we've got a couple more little changes on this B74.2. We have got 3.5mm threaded links and we've got a -2 wing mount at the rear. So the 3.5mm links, obviously they're just going to be slightly more durable, but also a lot of the aftermarket titanium links that you can buy are already 3.5mm in diameter, and some people are drilling out their ball cups to put in these 3.5mm links. So now it will be much easier to install one of those titanium kits. Now the wing mount, I think is just a definite win, especially for UK, European racing and carpet racing. The wheel is still nowhere near touching the wing, but it's just a 2mm lower, so again, lower centre of gravity, the car's not going to pitch as much, it's going to stay more stable around the track. Okay, the last thing, bit of a bonus for you, I'm going to go over the difference between the carpet car and the dirt car, because we've had a few questions about which one you should buy for what condition. Now, the main difference between the two cars is the dirt car comes with the centre diff and the carpet car comes with the centre slipper. So I'd pretty much say whichever one you're planning on using the most, I would go for that kit. Now there are a few other changes as well, like the carpet car comes with different springs and roll bars, but I think most of you have all the springs and roll bars anyway, so that's not going to make much of a difference. Now that's it for this video about the B74.2 and all the changes since the B74.1. If you like the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.